I'm sorry, he's done the work. The as far as the holiday schedule, you guys are the ones that work at the town, the 36-hour, whatever, 37-hour. Everybody gets to spend that day that you have the holiday with your families or whatever. A lot of times the guys that are in the highway department don't get to spend it with their family because they're in cloud. They've been called in to work on an emergency basis. Where if the holidays, as in the past, as Scott said, in 20 years, they can do it in the summer, they can spend that time with their families. But again, maybe the town board has no concern about that. I got written down here. I'm curious too as to how much the town's portion of that county contract is gonna be. They'll pay up to 100 and, or they'll pay up to 50%. I think it said in there, the county would pay up to 110,000. I don't know if that's what the 50-50 is, but I'm sure there's gonna be more because the county's not gonna pay for engineering like that. If I see that in excluding. The ECB member training. Who determines their training? Is the person determine what their training is gonna be? It seems to be that the town board would set the training, or whether the standards are set in by the state on the ECB training. But it appears from what is in the minutes that it's the professional, I mean, the person who sits on the board determines their. Well, I'm gonna look at a video, and that's gonna be my training. Seems like there would be some standards set. And the library fund, you've got to think for the library fund to approve transfers to the reserves. I don't understand why the town board needs to do that. They've given the money to the library board to do the budget as they seem fit. And so they should be able to transfer their money to reserves or within their budget. So I don't understand why the town board has to transfer reserve, not allow library. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
I ran over my tree.
We like you, Gary, so we gave you extra.
Yeah, right.
But anybody else? Okay. We'll move on. Excuse me, we'll move on to communications. Michelle.
Department of Ag and Markets came and did our dog control officer inspection report, and it came back satisfactory, so we're good there. As of right now, we don't need to do anything else. I attended a records grant meeting in Farmington with Brent, Tom, and John, thank you. And it was very informative. It's definitely a great long-term plan. Pretty jealous of their building, I will say that. I've also teamed up with the VA. They're handing out free gun locks. So they're in my office. Somebody can come and take one. They can take 20. It doesn't matter. They'll bring me more when they're gone. So those are in my office for free. It's to help prevent suicides also. So it's just one of their reach outs. Victor's putting up a solar farm, I guess you'd call it. And they're having a public hearing on that on December 16th. So they sent a letter if anybody's interested in going to that. And I also have some information from it's called the Med Project, and people can come in and pick up these things to mail back any unused medications, and they can mail them back to the company for free. There's no charge. It's just to help dispose of those the way you should. And I think that's it.
Thank you.
I did just have a couple things, Supervisor. Thank you. At last meeting, there were a couple questions raised. One was to any potential liability regarding AED devices, things to consider. And really, when I looked into that, there is, as was assumed at last meeting, for the user of the device, there's usually immunity there under Good Samaritan. But as far as a company or municipality, it can arise if it's found where, for instance, you're not maintaining the devices, which I didn't think was an issue here, but they're to be inspected, maintained, and there is some training that's recommended for those most likely to use them. Now, what I saw is a lot of the companies that provide the AEDs, they kind of have a program where they kind of take care of that for the company municipality. So that may be what's going on, and I can take a closer look if that's the case, but that's what I found there. And then secondly, it was brought up just to make sure and confirm, which I did with the Labor Council regarding federal holidays. Is there any legal issues with trading those off for other days based on operation needs? And no, there's not. There's occasionally an issue that does arise with veterans for Veterans Day. If they do want that off, there are some regulations regarding that. I don't think we were talking about that specifically, but I did just want to raise that that is one exception.
Thank you.
Yep.
Brent?
MCBA went to their November meeting. They were bringing up for the holidays in the Hamlet, which I attended. The horse-drawn carriage was well received. Also, the local farmer that donated the tractor and the wagon rides as well. Here's the event's growing. They're doing a lot better at intermingling between the areas of the Hamlet. I think the horse-drawn carriage and the wagon ride always have to have a lot. Planning board meeting, there was one on November 20th. They approved the site plan with conditions on Stony Ridge Drive. We have a meeting coming up on December 18th for subdivision and site plan on Clove Road. And there's also a special use permit to provide equestrian and nature-based experience to individuals in need for healing and positive experiences. This will be on Route 64 near Mr. Burbank. Have continued meetings with supervisor, code enforcement, planning board attorney. We have a draft plan board intake package. Going to review that next meeting, December 17th. Also still striving for progress on chapter 138-59. Attended the meeting that Michelle mentioned about records management in Farmington. I thought it was a positive experience. I think the town should move forward. We do have a proposal from MRP to put together the branch in draft form. They did a few months ago, and thank you, I apologize. We're just getting to it now. It's basically you can apply for $75,000 a year for records management. Well, what you're doing here is you're trying for an inventory indexing of existing paper records, development of policies and processes to convert these to digitized records, buying software and hardware necessary to do it, and support staff to backlog the digitalizing that. I think, Michelle could probably speak to this better than I can of what it takes when you need to find records on something from the 1970s or 80s. You have to go up to the third floor, and it takes a lot of time. The proposal that we have from MRB is, it costs money for them to put together. But I think what you need to remember is that it's a building application. Correct me if I'm wrong. So they put together this application with the intent of continuing to submit it year after year and to keep going after additional monies. So the first, let's say the first one would be one department. They go after the building department to digitize that. And once we start getting that done, the next application, we go to the town clerk's office or the highway department or something along those lines. So we build on it. Michelle, I think Farmington's in their 4th or 5th year
Going into their
of
5th, yeah.
going after these record management grants. So I think, I'll ask MRB to update this and then.
Perfect, Brent. It's basically, they've gone after it for 4 years, and each year they add on another piece to it. And so the first year is kind of heavy in trying to get the digital program, get software, also get computers, laptops if you need it, trying to train long-term use. It's over a 400-page application that actually goes into the state, which documents, how long does it take Corey or Michelle to find the information, what do you do? And so you kind of detail and track it through the whole system. Where are your birth records? What is the condition of them? Documenting those situations. Again, other communities that we've worked for have been very successful in kind of repeat track, which helps.
So take that date and you bring this into the supervisor, distribute with town board consideration. Got a proposal for the sidewalk design. I requested MRB to include all areas, and that is in our feasibility study that's located on our town website. So anybody in the public can see where we are looking at putting in sidewalks. And I asked them to basically get them shovel ready. I think it's this way, if they're shovel ready, we can break them up into different pieces and bid them out as we're writing when it's budget friendly. As I was walking around in the holidays in the hamlet, I would, came to mind, I think we should do a sidewalk safety survey in 2025. And I think this is something that we should be doing annually. I know we have had some discussions of the lights down there that are historically accurate, which makes it difficult to get replacements, so that takes time. But I think that there's some tripping hazards down there as well, we should just look at. The retaining wall package over on Victor Menton Road is being submitted to the DOT, and now we wait. It could be anywhere from 1 week to 2 months, right? I have sent a request to MRB and our town attorney for guidance on standard easement language. Planning board is requesting easements for utilities and sidewalks. I think it's time we should get ready with a form to expedite the process where we can change the name to have some standard language. I've also talked with spoke with clerk about flexibility of surveys from ADP. I think that's one thing that we talked about when we signed out with the ADP was the ability to send out surveys, and we can select who they go to. I think indication, I say this, we can ask, do you like grape jelly? Do you like strawberry jelly? We can make it that direct and send it out. And I think this way we can get more feedback from the employees. And then, I had sent out an email on November 25th with the highway superintendent with regards to the 2024 and 2025 284 agreement, looking for that. His response copied all the town board members on it. I took the town board members off because according to open meetings law, we can't have that discussion. So, here is a copy for everybody for transparency of what my response was. And one thing I would like to consider for the 2025 284 agreement, when we get to that point, I think we should look for a set date when we're looking for this accounting to be completed, to wrap up 284. That's all that I have.
Thank you. Kim?
I do not have as much as Trent. I attended the holidays in the Hamlet last week and I thought it was a great time. It was a great turnout. And I have a zoning board of appeals meeting this week, so I don't have anything to report on that until after adjourn.
Thank you. Cindy?
Yes, first, project for the library. I also attended the holidays in the Hamlet and on 64, I counted 9 lights. Street lights that are out. It's so dark there. I couldn't see where I was going. And that's what prompted me to come and say, okay, where are the lights? And that's including the Christmas decoration lights that were up. It was very dark.
I noticed, I'm sorry to, some of them went on like at 6:30. Which was peculiar.
Then they might have come on when I went by. When I went by, I counted 9. One did go on until then it would have been 8. But, I kept looking back to see if anyone went on, but shouldn't they be on what's dark to stay on?
Should, maybe there's a timer.
Can I interject, Cindy?
Sure.
So, yes. Buildings and Grounds has been down to look at those lights. They are severely in need of repair. He's in the process of getting quotes to replace them all. We may not be able to do it all in the same budget year, maybe a 2-year process, but it's getting quotes for them. At one point, he was working at one, he got a shock off of one. At that point, I told him to stop working on it, because we need certified engineer, or not engineer, electrician.
I was going to ask if that maybe you should take. Are you getting a certified engineer to take?
Yeah, he's in the process of getting quotes from 3 sources. The poles would stay as long as they're in decent condition, but the top part basically, and then they would be LED. They would, come on it like a dusk to dawn, or a timer. I'm not sure how they would operate in that regard, and they would be something that would be attractive for them.
And with regard to the library. The library board is wondering about the interview process for board members. Some of their positions are too often they're trying to make plans for the new year and they're kind of stuck. So they asked me to bring that up. The library purchased quite a bit of supplies for the teen center through the teen grant. The Friends have their budget set for 2025, includes $12,000 for the library programs, plus another $6,000 for a number of different programs covering a number of different age groups. I won't go through them all. The staff training day was well received by 13 staff who attended. They had a tour of the central library and lunch. And then news from Kelly Paganelli in December, the library will be introducing 2 language story time programs on Fridays for preschoolers. And Miss Rosa is back and ready to volunteer in January through April. And they have various George Day set up for the children and crafts and stories in grade march. And they will also be going to the zoo. Teen news, it was an epilepsy awareness event held during Epilepsy Awareness Month for parents and teens. And the teens have been involved in making jewelry. And it also showed up throughout the month. And on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, help decorate the library for holidays. And that's it.
So with the library board of trustees, normally they vet anybody wants to be on the trustees. And then they send a recommendation to the town board, because it is a town board appointment.
Right.
So that's the way we've always done it. There was no indication that was going to change.
Okay, because there were 2 people who said they had received a letter after they were, their intention was to continue. One person said she never received a letter. She's on the board now, and hers is up. And so she sent a letter saying that it was her intention to stay on the board. She'd like to do that, but then that's her anything back, so.
So the letters were sent via email.
Right, and that's.
So- Okay. I will just say that, I instructed the supervisor secretary not to send out hard copies of letters like that, because it seems like an expense, and so we did them via email, which normally we have done them in hard copies. But to the best of my knowledge, everyone whose term was expiring, no matter what board they were on, received it. And then she followed up with further emails, phone calls to anyone else who had not replied, and sometimes these emails go to junk mail or whatever. So to my knowledge, everybody has been contacted at this point. But I'm glad to follow up with who the president is now.
Mary,
Mary. Yeah, I think I did actually follow up with Mary, expressed whose terms were up. I don't remember her saying disagreeing, with it, so to speak. But I'll follow up with her again,
sounds good.
so we're on the same page. She may not be familiar with the process in the past, because I know she hasn't been on the trustees very long. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Don?
Yeah, historic preservation, I don't think we've met for 2 months, been pretty quiet. We did have a meeting, although we did not have a quorum, preservation board. I mentioned last time, that the project that they're undertaking is a long-range climate plan for the town. The county has one. We talked a little bit about that, obviously, couldn't do business. Just a couple of things that jumped out at me is the county plan is to reduce greenhouse gases by 80% by 2050. A lot of theirs is by going to electric vehicles and stuff like that. I don't think that's the direction we're gonna be going with this climate plan. Like I said, it's gonna be more aspirational than dictatorial, I guess would be the word, because, you know, but they're coming up with this plan, but yet we don't even know the scope of it. It's gonna take a few meetings to get that behind us. So the bottom line basically is, it'll probably be in a couple of months, probably early in the next year, that someone will do a presentation to the board of exactly what this climate plan is gonna be and what it's gonna encompass. So while we're talking about lights, I just want to say, I don't know if it was highway, I don't know if it was building grounds, but in the hamlet, looks great. Wrapping the poles is a nice touch this year. The bridges are nice this year, so seeing that I drive through that intersection quite a bit, I appreciate it.
Thank you. The 2 flower beds outside of town hall were decorated by volunteer residents. As they have in the past. We had the plumbing that the town board approved at the last meeting done in the basement of town hall, because we'd had backups pretty much the last 2 years, and this removed all the cast inside the building and replaced it with PVC. So it looks great. Everything's going downhill. Dog shelter, I sent some information out to the board today about last week about this dog shelter that the town of Henrietta is considering applying for a grant. Talked to their town supervisor, talked to a few other town supervisors, and also talked to Ag and Markets today regarding the what we believe are the qualifications for sheltering dogs as of December 31st, 2025. Is when the new regs go in. When I talked to him today, I got the impression that she wouldn't really expand, but I think there's been a lot of pushback against what they're talking about, especially from the small towns who don't have a lot of opportunities for facilities. I asked her if the current facility that we're using meets the requirements, and she wouldn't commit to that either. Going in with Henrietta is, as you can see from the contract, is fairly extensive commitment from the town of Mendon. And I've talked to the town supervisor of Henrietta about this over the last few months, and I've been kind of, just saying to him, are we interested? We're always interested in working with another town on something, but from what I can tell, I think we need to wait a little bit and see what exactly these restrictions are, because the reading between the lines of Ag and Markets today, my phone conversation was that I think they're anticipating some possible changes to what they're talking about putting into effect. Now, we generally house less than 5 dogs a year. So it's not a huge problem. in the town of Mendon. I think last year was what, 0, and the year before it was 3.
Yeah, maybe.
I know I've had 2 dogs that I've had for an extended period of time for various reasons in the last few years. So we, you know, I mean, certainly the board can decide if you want to continue, but I just nervous about signing an agreement. Once you sign an agreement, I feel like we're kind of tying our hands at that point to heading down a certain path, and I'm not sure that economically and with the number of dogs that we have, that's the best situation. I didn't put anything on the agenda. The town supervisor Henrietta offered to come to our meeting tonight. I thought that was a bit premature. And I guess my thought process is to tell him that, you know, putting our name on something is premature, and that we want to see this through with Ag and Markets, if that's a reasonable comment from the rest of the board. Or I would encourage you to contact Steve Schultz and Henrietta if you have specific questions or want further details, because he's you know, help out a lot of this. And, you know, quite frankly, it's not that big a deal with us right now. Could it be a big deal for us a year from now? Yes, we could. And if we don't sign on with Henrietta, we could be left with no other options. So at this point, I just thought I would tell him we're not interested in signing the contract unless somebody feels differently, but we still want to be kept in the loop. All right, sounds fair. Had numerous complaints about road conditions, Tuesday, December 3rd, from residents. There was a bad accident at the corner of Sibley and Rush Lima Road. We have bond payments coming up next week for the library and water districts. Those will be made promptly. I met with our insurance broker for liability insurance. She sent out some very important information. You know, when we're contracting with some of these people, like if we contract with somebody to do lights, the Hamlet, they want specific language in the contract. Brian, I'll send you a copy of it so that you can see it. But you know, basically everybody wants to indemnify themselves against any liability. That's, I guess, that would be the end of it. Did meet with the library about their budget. They feel that they have $5,000 they can move into their reserve fund as they did last year, because they want to be able to replace all their computers at the same time. And they feel that if they can build up their reserve fund, and I forgot the number of years, that they will get to a point where they'll have enough money to do them all at the same time. For some reason other than that is a big deal with them. I don't know why. We replace computers, 2-3 computers here a year normally, because we have them on a 5-year cycle. But they want to build up their reserve funds so they can do them all at once. I don't know. Not sure why, but anyway. They asked that the town board consider a resolution that's in tonight's agenda. Working with the town clerk on the personnel policy, like to have that to the town board in the next week or two so that it can be considered at the organization. Let's see. We did do some update. We got some new computers here for town hall, ones that are in that 5 to 6 year range are being replaced. And also with the help of the secretary at the highway department, we're updating the charge cards. Those are the you know, like house accounts at places like Home Depot, Staples, making sure that we have the proper people on the accounts and some of the people that no longer work there are no longer able to use those accounts. And discuss with the town of Pittsburgh regarding Mendon Green and sewer charges. So the sewer charges will go into effect on the tax bill in 2026. Or if anyone meets the requirements of the contract. And but we'll continue to work with Pittsburgh on making sure that we have proper communication going back and forth. That concludes my communication. We'll move on to supervisor's monthly report.
Now on receipt of the supervisor's monthly report for October 2024. It should be November.
I think they're a month behind, right?
Yeah, they're always monthly.
Well, but mine's is. Oh, that's the code.
We did not.
Second, right?
Any discussion?
$201. Library. You have a negative balance.
We just fine. Joe, can I get your
This,
Yeah. No, it's there you go. I'm sorry, Brian, go ahead.
We have DB 201 money market at MVP, which negative balance as of 10/31. We have library 201 money market, the negative balance.
Okay, so well, that's MT.
No, they're moving money around, consolidating.
Yeah, I believe that is because that's under balance 10/31/24. You're looking at that last column, the top. That's before we combined accounts.
Okay.
So when there was like MT, I think we had remember 6 or 7 accounts,
7.
seven accounts combined down to 3. So that was taking that money out of that. We have one money market account with MT that took that money out of there and moved it in with the rest. They still keep track of the money on paper as far as what money is attributed to which fund. But in the old days, the comptroller's office wanted to have a separate account for each fund. That's no, with all the high-tech software now, you don't have to do that. Pardon?
How do you then end up with negative if you buy accounts?
They moved that money,
This money was moved out.
moved out
Oh, okay,
to the general money market account.
got it, okay.
Because at the time, they were basically all checking accounts. Or I'm sorry, excuse me, they were all savings accounts that were getting, like 0.5% interest. So we moved everything into a money market and we're getting, 4.5-ish out of the money market. We need to vote to shut it.
Mhm.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Move on to town clerk's monthly report.
Motion to acknowledge receipt of the town clerk's monthly report for November 2024.
I'll second that as well.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes of regular meeting on November 18th, 2024.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I have a question on that, number. 15. It says, people, public hearing on the program, 7 p.m. Monday, we can change that meeting on 7:34.
So we got-
I think we did change it at 4.
So this should be changed in here to 4 o'clock. Yes. That's number 15. Michelle.
Got it. Thank you.
Anything else?
My motion to approve this Monday.
I'll second the same.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye, any opposed? Thank you. Move on to budget adjustments.
Make nothing to, accept the following budget adjustments are what's listed in the amendment.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? Thank you. Move on to vouchers.
Make a motion to approve all claims on vouchers number 24, 659 to 24 670 on general abstract 24 12A. $27,706.34.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? Thank you.
Motion to approve all claims on vouchers 24-671 and 24-706 on general abstract 24-12B in the amount of $21,993.57.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye, any opposed? Thank you.
Make a motion to approve all claims on vouchers number 24-26, 24-254 on general abstract 24-12 in the amount of $50,025.53.
Second.
Any discussion?
The only thing I was going to make note of is that for the highway abstract, that 40,000, 18,600 or something was what I saw.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye, any opposed? Thank you.
Also, like to make note, the library vouchers number 24-198, 24-205 on library abstract 24-12A. The amount of $2,179.95 was presented to the town board for payment. And vouchers 24-206 and 24-218 on library abstract 24-12B in the amount of $14,136.62.
Thank you. Next, we're gonna open the public hearing on the 2025 preliminary budget at 7:47 PM. If you would please, provide your name, address, and, limit your comments to 3 minutes or less until everyone's had a chance to speak. Okay, is there a motion to close tonight's public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Next is the final budget adoption. This is a motion or a resolution to consider adopting the 2025 final budget. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. County will be very happy to hear that.
Very, very good.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. We weren't the only ones, thank goodness. Number 13 is the proposed chapter 260 amendment for accessory structures. I would just say that there is a typo in that sentence where the public hearing was held to consider the preliminary budget. That's a typo. It's a public hearing to consider the accessory structure amendment. So I'll open up the public hearing for that at 7:48 PM. If anyone would like to speak on the public hearing regarding the.
I need a
zoning-
motion in a second.
No, I open.
I'll take that out.
They close.
Okay, got it.
Anyone who would like to, make, or, excuse me, speak on that amendment can, provide their name and address. Limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. Okay, is there a motion to close? Okay, is there a second? Andy seconds, okay. All in favor of closing the public hearing? Aye, any opposed? Thank you. Next, number 14 is proposed accessory structure, local law adoption.
Make the motion to adopt the following. Whereas public hearings was called for and held on December 9th, 2024, relative to proposed local law to amend only legislation to address only for accessory structures, buildings, all interested parties work that if not keep their on. And there's some whereases regarding seeker and local law. In town clerk.
A second.
Any discussion?
I think that this is something that we talked about, the current zoning law says that accessory structures are not allowed in the front yard. Unless you, it's like. The argument, I've done some research on this, the discussion point was, well, you know, kids like to have their school buses and they have them out front, and that's the kind of accessory structures we're looking for. And my thought on this is, those school bus structures for waiting for the bus are not 60 foot back from the road right away. So therefore, they would have to come for a variance anyhow to have them on front right of the road. I think this is something that we're circumventing the ZBA the way it's currently set up. So the ZBA is set up and asks the 5 questions of, you know, is this self-imposed? Is there a fees? Is this feasibly maintained or obtained by another method? For the planning board, it's not set up to ask those 5 questions. And I think this is really something that should go for the ZBA and not.
Great. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye, any opposed? Thank you. Next is the capital improvement program. This is to establish a public hearing.
Make motion to hold a public hearing, the capital improvement program, 7 P.M. Monday, December 4 o'clock. Sorry. 4 o'clock, December 30, 2024, or soon thereafter, said hearing can be convened at the London Town Hall, 16 West Main Street, Highland Falls.
Second that.
Any discussion? Sorry, you need to interrupt.
No, I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did.
I'd forgotten about the 4 o'clock too.
This way.
Yes,
Okay.
that's capital improvement plan, required by the state, you know, had input from various departments on that. Obviously, it's a plan. There's nothing that says you have to do it to the letter of the law, but you know, it is a guide going forward for future boards to review as far as replacement and improvements. Any other? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Next, the 2025 Associations of Towns Annual Training Attendance.
Make a motion to approve the attendance of town supervisor, town clerk, town board member Rossing and Roberts, and the code enforcement officer for attend the association town annual training February 16th to 19th, 2025 in New York City. All necessary legal expenses associated with the training according to the town of Manning travel policy will be paid from the 2024 and 2025 budgets. And come from the line items listed. And that's.
I'll second that resolution.
Any discussion?
I have looked for training comparative to this, you just have not found it in this area. I think I could definitely get training. If I find it in a different location, I believe they did it.
Agreed.
Fortunately, I'd like to.
I hate New York City.
Kim, thank you for sending out the
draft.
Draft of the.
I agree, like the training is really great and you can't, and I had asked the Association of Towns last year to consider moving the training around the state. So we give other cities an opportunity and because New York City's so expensive,
Yeah,
but that's where they keep holding it, so.
I agree. Yeah, I mean. You know, some of the things that I've learned in going, have been invaluable regarding, the upkeep of the Mendon Cemetery, regarding, fire districts, fire protection districts, and, you know, there's probably another half a dozen things that aren't coming to my mind right off the top that have been extremely helpful that I've received at those trainings, so. Never too old to learn. All in favor? Aye, any opposed? Thank you. Next, Hamlet Sidewalk Project. This is agreement with Monroe County.
I'll make a motion to authorize the supervisor to enter into an intermunicipal agreement with Monroe County regarding the acceptance of funding for the Hamlet sidewalk project.
So,
Any discussion?
make sure that that's for Mile Square Road, north of 251, otherwise known as County Route 70. And it's only for that section, and per this IMA, it is required that we have to have plans that are reviewed and approved by the county. We're hoping that we would be able to do this with the county bid. Do something very similar to what we did with Assembly Drive. But the IMA that came through, it was not allowed. So. Unfortunately, a lot of times when you get grant dollars, there are strings attached, and there are strings attached on this.
What was that, what was that provided for that?
You can't, off the top of my head, don't hold me to this, you can't pay for engineering. You can't pay for land acquisition, so easements. I don't think you can pay for, construction observation either.
I think it was just hard costs.
Hard costs, yeah.
Excuse me. Oh, I was gonna call the vote, so if you want to say something, go ahead.
No, I just said thank you.
Oh, okay. Anything else? Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye, any opposed? Thank you. Holiday schedule policy.
Motion to adopt following holiday schedule policy that's listed in the agenda.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I would like to strike the first line of the fundamental hearing. Oh, no, I'm sorry, not that line. All federal holidays will be observed. First of all, I want to thank you guys very much for coming out tonight. I mean, as they said, 20 years, highway supervisor has been making the schedule. I asked last time why the change this year. I didn't get a satisfactory answer. I will go out on a limb. I'll make unpopular decisions if I have a good reason to. And I've yet to hear a good reason why we need to change from the way it's been in the past.
One thing that I did hear last month was this is standard practice across Monroe County. To have 4th of July week off for the highway department, and the highway departments work those winter holidays.
Yep.
I did some of my own investigation in towns across Monroe County. It was not exhaustive. I did probably 7 or 8 towns, east side, west side. I did not find one town that gets 4th of July off. I did not find, it was not consistent across the towns that they all worked or did not work their holidays.
Well, that's a reason. Is that a reason to?
But my point being is, it was stated that this is common practice. This is not common practice. And it was also stated this is the way we've done it for 20 years. just because we've done it for 20 years doesn't make it correct. And I think we need to have that discussion on not just this, but other things. Because there are things that, and, you know, coming back to this association of towns, when I'm sitting there and listening to these things, there's certain things where I go, oh my goodness, we're not doing this correct. You know, the statement that we need to have the workers there so we don't pay overtime on the holidays. I don't think is an argument why we should make them work federal holidays.
But as the attorney has said, you know, that generally isn't a problem unless we're talking Veterans Day and you're a veteran.
Agreed, but I think that's part of this discussion that we
So-
need to have, and we had not had this. All that's been said in the past is, well, that's what we've done for the last 20 years. So we
And
have
that's
to
what,
keep doing it.
that's what the highway department has counted on for 20 years. Again, if you wanna take that away at a cost of I don't wanna say, I mean, it's gonna be an unpopular decision. I need a justification to make that.
Yeah, and I do have a question, a concern. Why the change? I'd like to know the rationale for the change, the proposed change.
For me, I can't say for anybody else. As I stated at the last meeting, we have had some abnormal storms in the summer. And part of the service that we provide is supporting emergency services and clearing roads. If the entire department is shut down and we have one of these storms, how do we clear a road? How do we get emergency services to this town? Now, is it saying that everybody has to be there? I don't think that's something that we're going out on a limb, but I'm saying we're here to provide services. And one of those is supporting emergency services, and we've had some serious storms in non-winter related months recently. Yes.
One was last year.
And it's taken days to clear the roads when we've had staff on board. So now we have the entire department shut down for 9 to 10 days.
So that's. Your,
Well, no, that's just one aspect that I would be coming at from this.
So I guess my aspect of it is, just because it's always been done doesn't mean that it always has to stay that way. I think being aligned for the town employees, all the town employees, makes more sense to follow the holiday schedule. But the highway superintendent has the ability to use the floating holidays however he wishes to schedule them. So if they still have 4 days off the week of 4th of July, that's up to the department head to do that. But I feel like they should have the holidays that all the other town employees have to be consistent.
You know, the words I hate most in government is we do it because it's always been that way, but it's been that way for a reason. In the winter, I know two Christmas Eves ago, these guys were out on the road.
right,
It line up our holidays, nothing lines up between highway and town hall because we have set hours. I mean, they'll tell me there's busy times, I know. And I know especially Michelle, days are late, but I'm just telling you that you can't say, well, let's all be the same. And again, to go back to, I mean, just listening to the conversation I had, why town hall continues to treat highway like the bastard stepchild, I do not know. For someone to say in a meeting that, you know, that's just the way it is, that's just wrong. And here we are just kind of stirring up the pot for, again, you're giving me reasons, but like I said, I need a good reason. I don't have a reason.
So Tom, you want a reason? I find it disrespectful not to observe the federal holidays. But, and there again, that's my opinion. I believe that with the 4th of July being a federal holiday through floating days, all the full-time employees receive a minimum of 10 days vacation day, 2 personal days. I think if the employee chooses to have, first of all, the way this is written, if the highway superintendent decides the other 3 days of the week with the 4th of July, they want to use, the town board approves it, then the employee can use person's day or a vacation day round out the week, just like anybody else would do. If that is the direction. As far as having staffing on those winter holidays, I think that's addressed in the resolution. Obviously, we're not gonna just shut down the department on Martin Luther King Day any more than the department's gonna be shut down on the 3rd of July. Because if there is an emergency, then the employees get called out. And whether, no matter what, excuse me, I'm sorry, there's public comments coming up, so you can be certain to talk at that point in time. But that is before I was interrupted, that's where I was going, is that this I believe allows basically the same thing to happen. It's just that it does observe the holidays, which, as I said, I consider respectful.
Now, no one finds it, I'm so sorry, no one finds it disrespectful if it's Martin Luther King Day and there's a snowstorm and there's people on the road. That no one finds that disrespectful.
Right, and then employees would be called out for that.
I get, John, you said that it's your opinion that it is, I can't remember if you said disrespectful, but, or whatever, but that we should be observing all federal holidays. We work in the private sector, we don't get public federal holidays off for the most part. I know I've had too many family members who have worked in the public and they're like, we got another day off, but what's a federal holiday? The rest of the people don't get the federal holidays off, don't take those days off. So it's not just saying, well, we should do it because it's disrespectful, then all these big companies are being disrespectful.
That would be up to those companies.
Well,
I'm just voicing you asked me for my opinion and I gave it.
I asked for a reason, not an opinion.
Well, I gave you a reason that is my opinion.
I just think the cost benefit, we're shooting ourselves, cutting off our nose to spite the face,
Right.
our face by to use one of my mom's favorite sayings. I don't, why do you not let the town or the highway superintendent dictate the schedule? Now, granted, if he comes in with a schedule that says, you know, something crazy, then we as a town board have an opportunity to go in there and say, you know, this is a little crazy. I'm not sure I'd like that. But the superintendent, supervisor works with people every day. He knows their needs. We should give him the respect that elected office gives him and have him dictate when the holidays are. Like I said, gotta be approved by us. So if we got a problem with it, we can. But just that, again, I'm gonna call it arbitrary because it is arbitrary, even a little capricious. It is just arbitrary to say, oh, you gotta do exactly what town hall is. They aren't town hall. They operate differently.
And if they were doing what town hall does, they wouldn't be working a full day on Friday. So if you want them to be all the same, then they have to have the same hours.
In the organizational meeting, it's spelled out, you've approved it every single year you've been on the town board. That highway is 40 hours, town hall is 35 hours. That is not an uncommon thing. And you've approved that. The fact that I encouraged the former highway superintendent to go to 4/10s. And he refused, said it interfered too much with county work. There are some other towns in Monroe County that do 4/10s. So the fact that town hall closes at Friday at 1 o'clock is, I'm sorry,
Well,
Cindy, but I don't find that.
I'm saying,
to
you
this
just said,
discussion.
wait, everybody should be the same, not you.
I did.
And that doesn't kind of jive with.
Different job, different demands, different, and I'm not saying one's harder than the other, one's worse than the other. I'm not saying that. But for God's sake, give these guys the respect of determining that these guys, Andy, who will give feedback, and give them the respect to do what's always been done, but you know why it's always been done? Because damn it, it works. It works. And these guys have probably already made plans for that week. Because that's the week they get off every. Week. I just think, again, it's a board, you know, we all take a vote,
I
decide what
think what
happens.
you said to allow the highway superintendent to dictate it.
Yep.
But then you also said that we approve it. So if the highway superintendent's dictating it, we're not approving it.
We have to approve it.
We have to by law.
Yeah, but I mean, that's only if Andy says, you know, the guy's gotta work every Sunday. Again, I'm just.
The one thing that I'm getting stuck up on with this language is the dispatchers. Okay? Because a dispatcher has to be, if nobody is working on Martin Luther King Day. A dispatcher has to work on a Martin Luther King Day. Martin Luther King Day is observed on Mondays. Okay? Mondays, our dispatchers we don't have our weekend dispatchers working, correct? We have our normal guys working. Okay, so our normal guys would be working on a holiday. So where do they get that holiday pay? Because if they get time and a half for being there, but then where does that 8 hours come from for holiday? See what I'm saying?
Can I invite the highway superintendent?
Let's see, I don't know.
You don't know what the question is?
If the dispatchers decide why to come in on the holiday, then being dictated to them by you. I'm not gonna force them, why, then I would say they don't get any overtime or anything. If they should get the holiday pay, then if they're get paid overtime, if they decide, if they don't decide to. Someone up there can decide on when to call them out and the phone numbers to call. That dispatcher set up, the schedule is set up for this reason. I just want to point out to Brent. Said he talked to 7 towns, they don't do, Rush does it, that doesn't, Sweden does it, Bend does it, so. I doubt you talk to those towns. But there's 4 more to add on to your subject. So.
I said I did my own research. Once again, Mr. Pichetta, I'm not here to debate with you.
Yeah.
That's what I
I'm
did.
just correcting you. I'm being with you.
Yeah. Okay, all right.
That's why stop that right.
All right, well, let's, I can vote on this. You got my vote. If you strike that second line, all federal hours will be observed, because I just think that's arbitrary.
And this kind of goes into what I was talking about with our survey.
Okay,
It wasn't the first minute.
We need feedback from the we're here employees. Okay. We hear from a couple tonight. Correct?
Yeah.
Okay, there's more. What I'm saying is we need feedback from employees before we make these kind of decisions. And I would like to do the survey so they can make these conversations, they can make their suggestions, they can make their comments. Maybe not anonymously, but not under any pressure. And they just get up and say it. Yes, what?
I'm stuck on something that Scott brought up. By you saying having, just. Under no pressure. When Scott asked the question, can't we get along? No, we can't. Well, if my employer said that to me, it's like, I'm finding a new job. Screw this.
It wasn't anyone's employer.
This is what I'm saying about surveys, and then this is what we're talking about holidays.
Right.
well,
But this is, I
But how can
don't,
we have a survey? How can we sit down and have a discussion? If that's gonna be the tenor of a get together or meeting or whatever.
well, let's pledge to do an awesome survey in the next year. And leave this the way it is. I mean, we're preemptively changing something based on what you think you may get feedback on the survey and based on.
no, that's not what it is. I told you what it is. I told you it's about the storms that we're getting and the non.
But you just were talking about
That's
survey.
what's
Predict any of that.
No, we
You could
cannot
get a-
predict
a
that.
Tremendous storm on.
But we can also not shut down the department for 10 days. And then leave it up to the highway superintendent, okay, we can do this with the skeleton crew, we can give the majority of the people off. If we shut down the entire department, that is us that's shutting down the entire department for 9 or 10 days.
5 days, it's 5 days. Well, you can
No,
do
it's
it,
not.
you got 9 days if you didn't call weekends.
Yes.
Have there ever been any wicked storms, on that week? I mean,
Are you asking?
yes, I am asking you, you can answer.
We only take care of the town roads, the state takes care of the state roads. You don't go help them there, but we might help them if need be. I know there's usually a couple guys around town if need be, and they always say, there's never been a situation in July. If there has been, it's been me that takes care of it while the guys are out. There's never been anything in all of these. There became a wicked storm where one person, more than one person, maybe two, would go around. One in the back, the other one just calling the other one, telling them where to go on town roads. And then he also mentioned that there was a mention of roads were blocked for weeks, and that's because they were in power lines. You can't touch anything in line, telephone lines, power lines, you have to wait for our community, or whomever to clear it. And then they usually take care of it. So it can be put off the road, and it's usually a tree or four. And the most, and a big one, I think we have 4 or 5 stoppages with the right around one section of town. That
Okay, so, well, I mean, at this point, we've gotten feedback, we've got some public comment at the end of the meeting.
Is it worth the animosity that's going to continue or get worse?
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Dan, you're out of order.
I agree. You're throwing a rock at the hornet's nest, and there's absolutely no gain coming to the town. I mean, again, yes, this mythical storm happens on the 5th of July. Again, do no harm, do no harm. Mythical. No, it could happen, I'm talking, that's, but it's not.
I think mythical is the wrong.
Can we table this to another meeting, and can I ask any of the employees to feel free to email me their opinion on the holiday schedule? Is that,
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
I think that's a good idea.
I mean,
I would like to hear from you if you want to email me on your opinion.
I could also send out a survey that we could have for the next, so that we know what they all feel. That, then you'll know.
I really like that idea.
fine.
Or go over to the library department and talk to them.
I actually have been over to the highway department,
Okay,
so I just don't ever see John when I'm there.
Okay, so is there a motion to table?
Yes.
listen, so I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor of table? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we'll move on. Next is the equipment purchases from DB. Thoughts?
Make a motion to adopt the following policy, any and all highway equipment purchase for DV time outside funds are to be charged for the village of Huntington Falls for work performed in the village that does not include work on state or Monroe County roads. At its discretion, the town board may waive any charges or statement for such work to be considered on a project by project basis. And I need to continue that one.
It's up to you.
For DB purchased equipment, the same charges used for Monroe County work will be associated with village work. Labor paid by DB will be the fringe rate for village work. TIPS funding is not applicable for work performed in the village. Equipment purchased by the DA fund will not be charged back to the village.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? So we started purchasing equipment out of DB, which is town outside the village. Several years. When we are performing work in the village of Huntington Falls, or the village of Huntington Falls, it is not fair to our town outside the village taxpayers. Therefore, if we are doing work and any of that equipment is being used, it would be a charge back to the village of Huntington Falls. Obviously, if it's county work, that all gets charged back to the county as per the rates that are agreed upon in the normal working rate. So this was some information that I received from the Association of Towns Attorneys. Because quite frankly, a lot of towns are receiving a lot more sales tax than we ever used to. A lot of towns are using that revenue to buy highway equipment. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye, any opposed? Thank you. IT policies, this is an update.
Make a motion to adopt the following revisions to the IT policies as listed.
Second.
After discussion with some of the town employees, I became aware that, some of these changes regarding passwords are, that was in the previous, policy that I went over with our IT, person is just not, just doesn't work in her office. So that's why we, made these changes. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye, any opposed? Thank you. 21 is ECB member training plan approval.
Make a motion to approve the professional development training plan for 2024 submitted by ECB member Margaret Bailey.
I'll say.
So each person on the board has to have 4 hours of training or what's approved by the town board. So this particular individual is bringing to the town board's attention that she would like to do separate training regarding I don't know if it's in here or not.
EPODs.
No, it's not in here, but it's about the E-Pods and receiving her training that way. Now, she can't do that unless she goes to, the only way she get her training is go to something that's, you know, approved by the town as far as with a county, something like that. Can you do your own training on your own? Yes. And that's why she's brought this to our attention to do that training on E-Pods, which is great training for somebody from ECB. I highly recommend it. Any other discussion?
See it on here, but this training's self-directed.
Yeah,
It's a lot of reviewing the E-Pods 1 through 9, reviewing the maps and reviewing the comprehensive plan. I think that's something that the ECB members should be doing when they're looking at these applications. I mean, we require 4 hours of training, correct?
Or whatever the town board deems. You know,
And I just don't see this as needing 4 hours to review the comprehensive plan.
it doesn't necessarily have to be 4 hours if the town board deems this is appropriate training. Yeah. Usually the 4 hours is what we require if they go to a sanctioned event called training.
Okay.
I agree with you, Brent, that's kind of 101 ECB, I'm gonna call it.
Yeah,
But by the same token, it's not, there's nothing in their job description that says you need to have good knowledge of X, Y, and Z in order to be on ECB. Is that a requirement?
She is a fairly new member, she's been there for a year, but she's a fairly new member, and. But for someone not as knowledgeable, E-Pods can be a confusing thing, so, we I have to say, since it's ECB, I mean, we were talking about the fact that, we get business in front of us, and if we're doing, we're trying to come up with a climate plan. I mean, is there time? You gotta do it once a month, it kind of gets, right, it becomes cumbersome. To have a 3-hour meeting every month, just to get done what needs to get done, so.
I don't, anything else anybody wants to bring up?
I guess what would be the litmus for the training? I mean, when I go to a lot of training, there are tests at the end. There are I mean, this would be. Would require some feedback from this ECB member at the ECB meeting. This is what I found, and, you know, I have questions with regards to EPOD 1 by the maps. I don't think they line up. I mean, I think there should be some kind of,
Would be. At least in my experience, which I always be the person that is not the best, the biggest and best experience. People are responsible for their whole audience, and they take care of it, and rarely do they turn in the papers at the end of it.
really, I thought the secretary and supervisor always got.
When I say paper papers, I'm talking about quizzes and tests and
Okay.
what seems to be, yeah. That's
Yeah,
right.
so my.
But you get a certificate.
Yeah, you get a certificate. But I mean, my experience has been when you're doing online training, a lot of times it's a test at the end because they want to make sure you're not just running in the background while you're watching I Love Lucy. They want to make sure that, but when I've done in-person trainings, usually there's no test at the end. That's just been my experience.
I would agree.
I guess my point is I'm hesitant, yes, on this, because I don't want to start a precedent. on this, frankly.
I will tell you this, that we have done this, but it has been rare. I think in my time here, I don't think we've done this more than 4 or 5 times. So, there again, it's up to the board, whether the board can say no. I do think that sometimes for some of these folks that have full-time jobs, it's hard for them to get to the training that is available, because a lot of times it's during the normal workday.
And
I
agree with
appreciate
Tom.
their commitment to being on the board.
Yeah, and I agree with Tom. I mean, the EPODs are, it takes a lot of investigation to learn what an EPOD is.
Right.
I just don't want to set the precedence. I'd like training. I'd like to see people getting trained. I'm glad she was a PhD in PE. She has, if she's a PE, if she's got a PE, she's got certificates around maintaining her 12 hours of training.
And she does have, but
Yes.
yes, so I know how she
Okay.
works and
Okay.
I hope you're ready.
There you go.
We call the question. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Next, we have the library fund. This is to approve the transfer to reserves.
Make a motion to approve the transfer of $5,000 to the library operating fund, hardware line L7410.230. Special computer reserve fund L888. This is a resolution subject to permissive referendum.
Any discussion? As I explained earlier, this is part of their master plan that they proposed to the board. I would say a year or two ago to replace all their computers at one time at a date. Sometime,
So some budget.
yes. All in favor?
Uh,
Aye. Any opposed? Aye.
I'd like to make a motion that we move public comments to our next item on the agenda.
I'll second that.
All in favor of moving public comment to number 23?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Who
Public comment.
second that? I'm sorry.
Oh,
Who did? Who second? I know Brent made the motion. I think you did. Okay.
Dan?
Dan Farrell, 148 Hyde Park, Client Falls. As part, for me as a highway employee, we'd all like to keep the schedule of it. If we have these two come up, we all discuss it ourselves at the shop amongst us all. That we want to keep it the way it is. There's no people pushing us in our hand, whispering in our ears. I know there's some dads around here, it shouldn't involve us. Some board members don't like other people that work down there. It's not us. We are our own entity. We make our own decisions. And we discuss this together. So my vote, keep the holiday schedule the way it is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Scott Wade, 245 East Street. I would just like to invite Karen down. And Brian, if you'd like. to come out and just-
It's Kimberly.
Kim, I'm sorry.
Karen,
Oh, whatever.
you're
Sorry.
late.
As far as the 4th of July week off, if there's a storm, there'll be people that are out. We'll be out and about. We wouldn't know we're not gonna come out because we're off. We've done it before, we'll do it again. If the tree goes down on the road, Andy will push it, and Andy's not in town, you get a phone call. I've done it when Andy's been out of town, so that's not a word. We can, like I said, we've been doing it for 18, 20 years, whatever, and it's never been a problem. Why all of a sudden it's a problem? So, I don't know, whatever, thank you.
Thanks.
Scott Lacy again, 4997 Charlie Road. I got two questions for Brian. Brian, will you put him?
Wait, it's actually, this is public. I'm sorry, you.
Yeah, it's a public comment, Scott.
It's not.
You can say
it's
whatever
not
you
a
want.
discussion.
If you want to engage, if you want to engage somebody, no, let me just finish my sentence. If you want to engage somebody,
No, I'm sorry.
please do so,
Stop
but
following.
this isn't the venue.
Okay. Like we had earlier said that we've got 4 20-year-olds working in highway site. We need that. We need to keep those gentlemen with us. But I tell you what, it's not gonna be easy trying to hire somebody to do anymore. The young kids don't want to work. Young kids want to sit here and do this. And you can't do that in a truck. These guys that we have right now, that's the future. That's the future of the town. Without them, I tell you what, it's gonna be harder on you guys. Trying to figure out what you're gonna do. Because without them, there is no future. You know, you can't keep bickering back and forth. You gotta be able to work together and be able to communicate, like Jim was saying. You know, we are here and we're always gonna be here. We're always gonna be a highway department. Every town's gonna have a highway department. As much as maybe the state government or federal government's gonna try and knock us down. We're a local government. Local government takes care of the people. You're taxpayers. The people that we take care of, day after day, night after night. You know, I want to keep our young people here. They may bring in more in the future. We got to be able to take care of that. But right now, it's not gonna be easy. You gotta keep those people involved, give them incentives to be here. You know, that's what I got when I first came here. I got incentives to stay here. Yes, I've been here for 17 years. I want to be able to retire from here. This is my retirement home. I do emphasize the word home. This is my retirement home. I loved it. I loved the years here. I want to see those guys keep them. That's what this should be all about. You know, it's love of what we do. You know, I gotta go to work in a couple hours. So I can help protect people on the road. That's why we're here, to help people. Keep those 20-year-olds here with us too, please. Because if they leave, I would hate to see it, I really would. That's my comment, thank you. I actually have the ability to ask you a question through public comment. Yes, sir. What's a good time to stop down so you can ask me questions?
I'm working from 11 to 7
All right, cool, thank you.
at night, 11 PM to 7 AM.
I'll help you there. He just agreed to it.
I might be there after your shift.
Yeah.
I've been working there for 20 years this year. Scott Williams ahead of me, Ben Schreiber's ahead of me. We're the top three, then we moved on from there. The 20 years that I've worked in Mendon, we've always used these holidays. Put them in the week of 4th of July, we're saving the town money. We worked at
We work the holiday in the winter, New Year's Day, Martin Luther King Day and President's Day, we put them in that week. So we're getting regular pay when we come in and work on the holiday. We observe it in that week. For regular pay. If we observe the holiday, you call us in to work, now you're paying us time and a half. So it's technically double time and a half. You're paying for us. So that's what we're doing. We're trying to help. In the 20 years that I've been here, when you start, you get X amount of days. As you excel in your job and you've been there years and years and years, yep, you get some more vacation, but for the younger guys, it's a little perk for them. They can have that extra week in summer, do something with their family, go to the lake or whatever, be close by. Most of us, we aren't going to Honolulu on the 4th of July. You know, so just like they said about whether you think there's a storm or not, and I'm not being rude, I'm just commenting that the 20 years that I've been here, like Andy says, he'll come out, get a backhoe, if he needs a hand, he calls a guy or two. Very rare. I've never seen it happen. Maybe a tree here or there, and Scott's helped him, that's fine. If there's, you know, he calls Scott can't do it, he calls Darren. He goes right down the list. There is generally a couple of guys here. We all don't go that far away from here. So I feel that we should leave it how it is. I think we should just leave it. It's like every year, we gotta sit here and argue about it. Why can't we do it? Why can't we do it? Like, I'm telling you why. This is why I wanna see it. I don't, you know, I respect Kimberly, but I don't think we all need to have an email back and forth and sit here and table it. When is our next meeting? December 30th?
34
Okay,
people.
but this is just, and I mean, all the guys are gonna tell you the same reason. That's why we do it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Okay.
Caleb Slattery, 705 McKinley. Pretty much everyone's already said, we had two guys, they left. It's at this point, the survey is a good idea. They figured, you know, being here, being supporting would show their support to keep it how it is, but we need to do a survey pool. But my vote is very much keep the survey. Keep it simple.
Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. Anybody else?
Carter Whitmore, 8289 Baker Road. You've heard it all already, but we're all on the same page here that we like the holiday schedule as it's been. It's one of the perks when we came here. And my question to you guys would be, why would myself or anybody else want to continue a career if you guys just change whatever you guys want without any regard for our family? We strongly like the way it's been. So I recommend we keep it that way.
Thank you. Thank you.
And someone who recommended Colin Road. Sort of dictating the free floating holidays we brought up. I'm not a dictator. Perhaps it's one different somewhere else. I don't dictate what they come up, sit down, and we have discussions. I don't tell them when they're going home, what they're doing, talk together as a group. I think that doesn't happen quite often in town. So, like someone saying that I'm gonna dictate the 3 days that they got up, it's not gonna happen. We're gonna sit down, we're gonna talk about the floating days. I don't dictate anything to them. I took a little offense for that. I'm not a dictator.
Anybody else? Gary?
No.
You're not keeping a watch, right? I'd call
Oh,
it
Gary. Ordering breakfast. Scott, what time you gotta go again?
forever. Brent was talking about a records management grant or something that they were gonna have the engineers write. I believe the town's gotten those grants before in the past. And for, I believe that's how this record room upstairs. For, you know, this record like this. I believe it's fairly straightforward. It's not brand new. It's been going for multi-years. And we didn't have to pay an engineer to write the grant or whatever. Pretty straightforward. Would it be possible to turn the PA system on?
Is it on?
Is it, if it's on?
It is on. It is on.
Want it turned up a little bit? 'Cause I know when the heat comes on back there, it's hard, but sometimes we get feedback. Let's see.
When you're talking and discussing things,
Is that any better?
start out loud so you can hear, but then you're just addressing each other. It doesn't project out into the room, for the spectator. Now, I know tonight's unusual, usually I have.
I think we just need you in the front row, Gary.
I don't want to. It also affects the video online too, when people are trying to watch, you can't hear it. The ETB training. That Brent was talking about, and I believe you, would it be possible maybe the county could set up some training programs that the towns could make use of? Pretty hard for a town just to train 1 or 2 people to do it into a form of training, but maybe they could develop, county could develop it, because all the towns are probably the same, you know, like that. I know in the past, and I can't speak for Andy, but I know in the past that the past highway superintendent always checked with the guys working to make sure that they wanted to continue the holiday schedules as he was presenting to the town board. If there had been 1 or 2 people that didn't want to do it, that was the end of it. It had to be fair, to everybody, or we reverted back to the town. And that's just the way it was. And that's why I don't understand why the big change. It seemed to work, and it worked well. And now you want to change it, and it doesn't look like it's gonna work well. The other thing that came up was in the hiring and retaining. These guys are talking about hiring and retaining. I know the Supervisors Association does surveys of towns, highway departments, and what their benefits are and what their pay is, and all these different things. It would be interesting, or maybe the town board or the supervisor could share that with the guys working here to say, okay, you get 14 holidays. Henrietta only gets 12. So you're going, because in the past, they don't make the greatest of pay compared to private industry like this. It never had, and municipal people don't do that. But they've always had good benefits and the assurance that 99% of the time, you're not gonna get laid off. Like in business. And those were the big benefits. You got good benefits. And now the town seems to want to scale those benefits back while spending money in other areas that maybe aren't as beneficial as having a good work and to retain the people too. Why would the truck driver stay here? And when he could go work 8 hours a day someplace else and make 50% or something like that. Just some things to consider. I'm not involved, as you know, I'm not involved in it. It's no skin off my nose. When we could give them only 1 holiday a year, you know, and like this. But I think you have to be fair to the guys. And then, and the other thing was, you talked about a survey. You want to send out a survey. You had 2/3 or more of the guys here that you were affecting. They're all saying the same thing. You're gonna get the same thing on a survey. I don't know why. Basically, you heard it after the fact, you tabled it, but there really wouldn't be any reason you could call the motion again and vote on it again to continue it. And you can't keep tabling it. First of the year, you got to. You know, the 30th, you're almost gonna have to handle it because the first one is New Year's Day. You gotta make up your mind, time's running out for you. But I believe we should leave it the way it is. If you wanna change it, talk to these guys. Do it next year. Sorry about that.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, so we, at this point, we'll close, public comment and we will be, is there a motion to go into executive session regarding ongoing litigation?
So moved.
So moved. Oh. Did you say second? I'm sorry.
I thought I said so moved.
And we got a motion in a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
If you would like to wait until after executive session, we will be going back into public session immediately following. Thank you. At that point, I'll open the doors and yeah, anybody wants to come back.